Song Mentor. Today's rockin' selection is I Hear Ya Knockin'. And this was an R&B classic originally recorded and written in 1955. The original version was by Smiley Lewis and reached #2 on the R&B Billboard charts. And another version, obviously a very pop version, was recorded by none other than Gail Storm and also reached #2, but this was on the general Billboard charts. The version we're going to cover today, and I always love doing this research because I didn't realize that Dave Edmunds and Rockpile, a popular 70s band, is from Wales. My dad was born in Wales, so it's always nice to make those connections. Dave Edmunds turned this around into a kind of a rock classic in the early 70s with Rockpile. And John Lennon called his version of I Hear Ya Knockin' the freshest new version of a song he'd heard. Here's Dave Edmunds. I Hear Ya Knockin'. All right, well, this cover of the old 50s R&B classic features a lot of chops. So they aren't so much chords as they are, well, they are chords, but they're 5 chords, which means basically we're playing 2 strings through most of them, and occasionally 3 strings, but we're not playing full chords. For example, the first chord in the song is an F sharp minor chord in the Dave Edmunds version, and then an A major, and then an E major, and then a B. But we don't actually play those chords, we play the chops that kind of go with them, like a... So that's how the song begins. So let's talk about the chords that you actually do need. And the song begins, as I said, with that F sharp minor chord. So you need... We're going to call it an F sharp minor 5, if you like, because you're going to emphasize the 6 and 5 strings as you play it. You hear the minor in there, but you're going to hit probably 4 as well. And if you played major, you don't want that. That's not the chord. It's got to be F sharp minor, but again, emphasis on the low strings. And then an A5, and you can play it here, again 6 and 5 strings, or if you play it here, we're going to just play that blues chop. This facilitates the blues chop a little easier than, you're going to stretch a little more for that one. This one is pretty simple, and we're going to, again, this time it's 5 and 4 strings that we're emphasizing, with our first finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. You see how I'm on and off the 4th fret with my 3rd finger of the 4th string. So F sharp minor, and then to the E5, which is what I just did with the A5, except now on the 5th and 6th strings. My fingers are moving on the 5th string, and I'm playing the open 6th. Okay, and that's that B5 chord, and this time again I'm emphasizing the 5 and 4 strings, and I'm playing a bar B chord. So again, these are the 4 essential chords for the song. We'll learn some additional riffing as we move along here, but just to review one more time, it's an F sharp minor, A, E. Those are the formations, and any other chops we put in are just built around those 4 chords. All right, let's move on. All right, let's take a look at that intro and the opening progression. And of course, the truth is here that while Dave Edmunds is playing the little riffs, the little licks, the band is playing through the progression, the F sharp minor, the A, the E, and the B, and then into the first verse of the song. So we'll cover the intro by at least trying our best to incorporate the opening lick and still be able to do the chording. So okay, so what I'm doing there, this is the opening lick, is I'm taking my 3rd finger and bending up the 4th fret at the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and I'm bending it up 1 full half step. Okay, bend that up, and then I'm picking up on the 1 and 2 strings as if they were part of the F sharp minor chord at the 2nd fret. That's just that little rock, little riff there. So what we're going to try and do here is play that little riff and then go right into the F sharp chord. Okay, let's try that again really slowly. Show you the right hand for this so you get an idea what we're doing with the right hand. Okay. There's a lot of muting going on here. It's not just open strumming. We don't want that. We want it. And that's experimenting with the heel of your hand here till you get that nice chunky muted feel. The heel of the hand, and that gives you an idea what's going on. Again, one more time with that intro. So again, we're just pulling up and then grabbing that F sharp 5 chord as quickly as we can to get into the progression there. All right, let's move on to a verse. Okay, well, the first thing we're going to do is play this thing really straight for you with the vocal, and then I'm going to show you some things that you can do to embellish this. You went away and left me long time ago. Now you're knocking at my door. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. I hear you knocking, go back where you've been. That's pretty straight. That's just going from the E5 to the A5, E5, A5, B5, and then finishing, getting back into the E5 for the start of the next verse. So here are some things that you can do to embellish a little bit. You went away and left me long time ago. Now you're knocking on the door. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. Okay, so what that is, and I've heard Dave Edmunds do this in the live version. Following the A5 chord. I hear you knocking. Okay, so what we're doing there is we're going up to the 5th and 4th frets. We're barring the 4th and 3rd strings with our 3rd finger. And we're going 5th fret, 4th fret, and then 2nd fret, the way the A5 is played. That just gives us a little option at the end of that A5 chord. So one more time. You went away and left me long time ago. Now you're knocking on my door. I hear you knocking. Here's another option, and this is taking into account that we're not playing slide guitar here, but we can do something like the slide, and we can go to the spot where the slide is. And that spot is up at the 14th fret. Basically, I'm just playing an open A chord, as if it's an open A chord, but I'm up at the 14th fret, barring it there. Okay, so it's going to be you left me long time ago. Now you're knocking on the door. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. Now, what I want to do there, when I get up to that 14th fret, I want to keep hammering on the open A note, which is still open, the A string. And that's just like playing this, except that this note is an octave higher. It's up here on the 14th fret. Okay, let's try that one more time. You went away and left me long time ago. Now you're knocking on the door. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. I hear you knocking, go back where you've been. Okay, that's the second option. Now the other thing we want to do is getting from the B chord. I want to give you some options for getting the B chord back to the E for the start of the next verse. And one of the things you can do is okay, and this is very much like the original version, the Fats Domino version or the Smiley version, where it's the piano plays. All we're doing there is from the B, we're going, go back where you've been. And that's B, A. I get my third finger to slide over to the A flat note on the 6th string, the 4th fret. And then the F sharp, and then back into the riff, the E5 riff. So again. Here's one more option for getting from the B to the E5. And all I'm doing there is open A, pulling on the G a bit, and then back into the E5. All right, so that gives you some options. You can play it straight, or you can put some of these fills in and jazz it up a little bit. All right, let's move on. All right, we're going to do a partial playthrough here, but just before we do, I want to mention what goes on during any guitar solo or slide solo or anything you might want to put in the song, the pattern it follows. And it does go back, at some point, it goes back to that F sharp minor A pattern. So I want to show that to you, except instead of going back to the E, it goes from F sharp minor A to B and then finishes up. So here's the pattern there. And coming out of that instrumental, we go into the final verse. Now you notice on that little transition there on the B, I went from and that's what it does. It does that little, those little 4 hits, and that is a kind of a piano chord, B. It's a B piano chord. So you could play the B note, or as an alternative, you could pull that G again, like I mentioned earlier. So that just gives you another choice there. All right, I think we have time for a full playthrough. It's a short song. Hey, the last verse, it changes a little bit, the last line of the last verse. I told you way back in 52 that I would never go with you. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. What's the change now? I hear you knocking, go back where you've been. Okay, so the very last line, it goes to the F sharp minor and the A instead of just cycling back and forth A, E sort of thing. All right, full playthrough. Went away and left me long time ago. Now you're knocking on the door. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. I hear you knocking, go back where you've been. Begged you not to go, but you said goodbye. Now you're telling me all your lies. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. I hear you knocking, go back where you've been. Better get back to where you used to be, 'cause your kind of loving ain't good for me. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. I hear you knocking, go back where you've been. Told you way back in 52 I would never go with you. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. I hear you knocking, go back where you've been. Okay, fine tuning today. Well, one of the things, when you're doing those little slide bits, I didn't mention the wiggle, but that's pretty integral to doing a slide-like sound without a slide, is make sure you wiggle that pretty good when you're barring that right there. Other than that, the key to this lesson, I think, is the chops and how to mute them and control them so that they have a really nice... I've also given you several options. Things like this, the slide bit, some of these. Okay, Dave Edmunds, classic remake. I Hear You Knockin', here on Song Mentor. We'll see you next time.